This is Emilio, your host, and we are here today with our co-host Melissa Delana, and we are also on the phone with Mike Auger, owner of Patriot Home Inspections, and we are talking about inspection issues and to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. I love that line, Mike. That was great. That was a great title. So Mike, I guess the biggest issue is that when people are buying a home, right, they need to have home inspections. They really, really should. They don't need to, but they absolutely should. It's not required, but they should. Okay.
Absolutely.
And I know you've got a list of reasons to ask for repairs or to walk away. So I would love to hear that list because you're out there 7 days a week on the grind. You've seen probably more homes in Rhode Island than most realtors have. And you know when to hold them, when to fold them.
Yeah, I mean, basically what you see every time when you get to a home inspection, especially a house that might have some deferred maintenance or might have some surprise issues that pop up, is sometimes people get overwhelmed as we're going through the home, and they see problems, and they don't realize that almost any problem in a home can be remedied correctly and safely and make the house viable. I mean,
True.
You made an offer on a house to buy it because you like the house, the neighborhood, whatever, and sometimes people get discouraged for things that can be remedied. So I have a list of some of the hot button items that come up.
Yep.
The first one, and it's becoming more and more popular, there's more awareness, is radon gas. It is everywhere. About 4 out of 10 of my clients do a radon test.
Yep.
And what people don't realize is, yes, it can cause lung cancer. It is the number 2 cause of lung cancer, second to smoking in America. But most homes can be fixed for like $1,000. So it's not the end of the world. And once you put that system in, it becomes part of the house.
Yep.
Done.
So
now,
radon, hold them.
Yeah, definitely. It's not a huge deal.
Hold them.
The next thing that people hear about is asbestos. Again, you hear the words lung cancer as a potential thing, and it is a scary thing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of homes that were built in the 30s or earlier will have asbestos insulation on the steam radiator pipes. Some homes will have vermiculite, which can contain asbestos, up in the attic.
Yep.
And then maybe even exterior items like the old cement fiber shingles contained asbestos. All of those items can be repaired. As far as insulation on the steam pipes, you can wrap that, or you can remove it, and that's about $11 to $12 per foot, labor and everything, if you bring in a licensed person.
Yep.
Asbestos siding on a house, that stuff wears like iron, and generally just leave it there and it'll be fine.
Yes.
And then, the vermiculite in the attic, that can be expensive. When you get to items that have higher price points, like something like that, there's when a negotiation can get to be difficult when you have a situation where maybe the seller can't really move on their price because they need to pay off their loan perhaps, or there's not equity, and maybe the buyer's at a point where they can't afford to remedy it. So something like that, that can be an issue. That can be several $1,000s for the vermiculite in the attic. So
okay.
that's a tough one.
What does that look like, Mike? Because I'm not familiar with that.
It's a gravelly type of material. It looks like crushed up gravel, and they pour it out of bags, and it would be on the floor of the attic.
Oh, I have seen that.
There's pictures on my website. Not to do a shameless plug, but there is. And again, it's a mined product, like out of a quarry.
Yes.
It came out of the mine in Montana, which is about 70% of it in America. Then it'll contain asbestos. That's an issue. Again, you're looking at several thousand to fix that. Something like that, if nobody has any room to negotiate funds to do it, it is an expensive repair. So that could be something that becomes a sticking point.
Yes. Yes.
While we're on that subject, when you get to something like that, where nobody has the money to fix it, you can't leave it like that. Perhaps the funding comes from financing that would include a repair, like a Title I or a 203K, something like that.
Exactly. Or there is other programs, like Title I for the sellers. But, here's the thing is that I've seen a lot of buyers fold them when it comes to asbestos. I mean, wouldn't you agree, Melissa?
Absolutely. How
many deals do people walk away with asbestos when it could be remedied fairly easy? And my suggestion whenever I walk into a house that has asbestos is we tell the sellers right away, listen, get this taken care of, okay? And that doesn't mean go hire some, illegal immigrants to come into your house and rip it all down or whatever. Get it abated. get it properly abated, show the buyers paperwork if anything comes up. You know, that should all be disclosed, but at the end of the day, they'll know it is done professionally and they're safe and they're fine and it's all set.
Yeah, that asbestos can be tricky. In the state of Rhode Island, you do not have to be licensed to remove it from a single-family home if the home's not being demolished.
Wow.
I always recommend a licensed professional because they have the air filters and everything.
Yeah.
The tricky part about it is if you remove it, you might not see any in there, but if you did a bad job, you could leave those fibers floating around in the air and still hurt people.
Oh, those
so
parts.
You got to be a licensed pro to be touching that stuff.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And in some of the flip properties that I walk into that kind of worries me when I'm taking my clients down there, if all those particulates are in the air because they rip down, you can see in some cases that they rip down asbestos, craziness. But, again, don't let it scare you as long as we can remedy it. Okay. I personally, go ahead.
You can scrub the air. It can be done.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The next thing is mold. Mold is it became kind of a scary thing, buzzword. You do see it from time to time in houses, but basically it comes from water where it's not supposed to be, or moisture where it isn't supposed to be in a nice closed-in area, and it causes mildew or mold to grow. That can be remedied through proper ventilation of the area, fixing the leak sometimes if that's the cause, and then most of the time it's not a terribly expensive thing to go ahead and treat for it.
No, not at all.
People get nervous about it, like, I've got allergies or whatever, but it can be treated. Same thing like asbestos. You want to bring in a qualified, competent professional to take care of it. And once it's remedied, it won't come back.
No, not at mold is not. I don't think mold's a big deal unless you go downstairs and the whole basement's covered in black mold. I've been in a house like that before. I suggested that the sellers leave, but
sometimes it can be bad, but for the most part, it's not immediately hazardous to your health.
No, I'm with you there. I mean, you can get it done. I suggest Lynch Restoration and Cleaning. Everybody knows Lynch.
Those guys are awesome. Absolutely.
They really local
they do
guys.
A great job. I think generally speaking, though, buyers get freaked out when they see anything that's kind of environmentally hazardous, like the asbestos and the mold and even the radon. So, they're inclined to just run when the reality is they can be managed.
Of course. A lot of that too is from these like commercials and whatnot from these huge brands that make people nervous so that they get the work. It's a scare tactic, but at the end of the day, the stuff can get taken care of, rather easily.
Absolutely. The next thing that we see big is termites or carpenter ants. These are insects that eat wood. If you're doing an FHA or a VA loan, the lender for the buyer is going to make sure that there is no activity there. They'll require that these things get addressed prior to closing. If you're doing a conventional or another type of loan, the lender might not make that a requirement, but still, you don't want to let that go. They eat the house. Termite treatment on a house is the more expensive of the two. You're probably at about $1,000, maybe $1,500, depending on exactly the house.
Yeah.
But once they treat and get you on a program, they're going to be gone. And then depending on what we find during the inspection, there are potentially structural issues. Again, every portion of the structure can be repaired. Just depends on how bad or how aggressive the damage was before somebody got to repairing it. But there's nothing that can't be fixed. So, when we find damaged joists or damaged sills or things like that, you got to keep in mind every part of the house can be repaired. It just depends on the scope and where do we get the funds to do it? Does the seller fix it? Does the buyer absorb that? Or again, do we go back to looking at financing that? You can finance the repairs.
Exactly. And we've got about 30 seconds left, Mike, before we have to hit a commercial. I know there's a few others on your list. Do you want to just quickly sum those up?
Yeah. Quickly are older mechanicals and a septic system. Those are the big things. In Rhode Island, you do have to switch over to sewer in some cities. So, again, these are items that can be negotiated or financed. The main thing to keep in mind is if you want the house, it can happen for you. You don't have to run away just because there's a big ticket item. There are ways to finance it and get it repaid.
Absolutely, and an experienced real estate agent and it can definitely walk you through that. And having the right inspector on the job, giving you the right information, and not handwriting on a yellow pad. I've seen that is definitely vital to this. I mean, you're buying a $250,000 house, $500,000 house, $1 million house, you need to have somebody in there protecting your investment and your future. So you want to make sure that it's done with a reputable company. I stand by Mike Auger and Patriot Home Inspections. That's who our clients use most, and they've been happiest with.